killed, over 100 injured in Swiss fire. Trump delays tariffs on imported furniture items. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching World Today with me, Atira Minuddin. Around 40 people were killed and over 100 injured when a fire ripped through a crowded bar in the luxury Swiss ski resort town of Crans-Montana as young revelers rang in the new year. Police, firefighters and rescuers rushed to the popular resort after the fire broke out in the early hours of New Year's Day. Horrified bystanders described panic as people tried to break through the windows of the bar to escape, and others, covered in burns, poured into the street. Two young French women said birthday candles placed on champagne bottles had gotten too close to the ceiling, and seconds later, the entire ceiling was burning. They estimated that around 200 people were in the venue at the time, mainly aged between 15 and 20. Authorities said they are still investigating the causes of the fire, but said they do not believe it had been caused by an attack. Gay Parliament, who took over the Swiss presidency, said this is one of the worst tragedies that the country has experienced. He added it constitutes a calamity of unprecedented, terrifying proportions. Around 400 people gathered for a church service in Crans-Montana in honor of the victims, while Bern announced that flags would be flown at half-mast for 5 days. President Donald Trump has delayed steeper U.S. tariffs on some imported furniture items for a year, ordering the postponement shortly before they were due to take effect yesterday. The increase had been planned under an earlier tranche of sector-specific tariffs imposed by Trump, part of a slate of duties he has rolled out since returning to the White House. They involve a 30% tariff rate on certain upholstered furniture and 50% on kitchen cabinets and vanities. But with U.S. households feeling the pinch from elevated costs of living, Trump pushed the planned tariffs to 1st January 2027. The White House said, given the ongoing productive negotiations regarding the imports of wood products, the president is delaying the tariff increase to allow for further negotiations to occur with other countries. In October, a 10% duty on imported softwood timber and lumber came into effect, along with a 25% duty on certain upholstered furniture and kitchen cabinets. The higher rates originally set to take effect yesterday would have impacted imports from countries like Vietnam and China, which have been key suppliers of imported furniture to the U.S. Zohran Mamdani has promised to show left-wing politics can succeed as he took over as new New York mayor for a term sure to see him cross swords with U.S. President Donald Trump. Thousands of people gathered in the U.S. largest city to celebrate the 34-year-old Democrat's inauguration after his impressive political rise from relative anonymity just a year ago.
There are many who will be watching. They want to know if the left can govern. They want to know if the struggles that afflict them can be solved. They want to know if it is right to hope again. So standing together with the wind of purpose at our backs, we will do something that New Yorkers do better than anyone else. We will set an example for the world.
Mamdani, New York's first Muslim mayor, emphasized the cost of living issues that were central to his mayoral campaign, pledging to help those betrayed by the established order. New York Attorney General Letitia James performed a private swearing-in at an abandoned subway station. Mamdani's office said the understated venue beneath City Hall reflected his commitment to the people. And in a first for the city, he used the Quran to be sworn in as mayor. Russia said Kyiv was behind a drone strike on a hotel in the Moscow-held part of Ukraine's southern Kherson region that killed at least 20 people celebrating the New Year. The accusation came at a crunch moment after weeks of diplomacy aimed at brokering an end to the nearly 4-year war. According to the Russia-appointed governor of the Kherson region, Vladimir Saldo, Ukraine fired 3 drones that struck a cafe and a hotel on the Black Sea coast in Koli, where civilians were celebrating the New Year. According to Saldo, more than 100 revelers gathered at the hotel at the time of the attack. Russia's investigative committee said it had opened a probe into the incident. The Russian Foreign Ministry accused Ukraine of carrying out a terrorist attack, called on international organizations to condemn it, and warned Kyiv of appropriate consequences. It also accused the Ukrainian authorities of deliberately torpedoing any attempts to find a peaceful resolution to the conflict.
Penuh dengan kandungan ganas, eksploitasi kanak-kanak dan buli cyber berleluasa di luar kawalan. Akta Keselamatan dalam Talian 2025 atau AMSA dikuat kuasa untuk melindungi rakyat. Pengguna boleh bertindak atas kandungan yang berisiko. Setiap laporan yang dibuat, platform digital wajib bertindak pantas terhadap penyalahgunaan digital. Internet kini lebih selamat untuk kanak-kanak dan keluarga kita.
Menggosok baju sekaligus boleh menjimatkan elektrik.
Turkey has granted visa-free travel to Chinese citizens holding ordinary passports for tourism and transit, according to a presidential decree published in the official gazette. Under the new regulations signed by Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan, Chinese travelers will be exempt from visa requirements for stays of up to 90 days within any 180-day period. The policy is set to take effect on 2nd January. The move aims to strengthen trade and tourism between the two nations. It follows a significant surge in arrivals from China, which has become one of Turkey's fastest growing tourism markets. Diplomatic relations between Turkey and China were established in 1971 and were elevated to the level of strategic cooperation in 2010. In recent years, relations have gained renewed momentum, particularly in trade and investment. According to Turkey's official data, the number of Chinese visitors to Turkey rose 65.1% year-on-year in 2024 to approximately 410,000, bolstered by increased flight connectivity and interest in Turkey's cultural heritage sites. North Korea's state-run television on Thursday released about an hour-long footage showing North Korean leader Kim Jong-un attending New Year's celebrations in Pyongyang that included fireworks, a countdown, patriotic songs and dances. Kim's daughter, Joo-ae, whom some analysts view as a frontrunner to succeed him, accompanied Kim during the celebrations. The two were seen hugging children and sitting next to each other and holding hands. In a speech, Kim lauded the efforts of the North Korean people, saying he and the people can feel proud that they boosted the strength and dignity of the country in 2025. He also called for unity ahead of a key party congress expected to be held in early 2026 that will lay out the country's future direction. North Korea is expected to soon hold the 9th Congress of the ruling Workers' Party of Korea, which will set out plans for the next 5 years in areas such as nuclear and weapons development, as well as the economy. Kim and his daughter also met with families of commanding officers of North Korean troops fighting on Russia's side in the war in Ukraine and delivered another speech at a banquet attended by North Korean workers selected by the state based on their loyalty. Flights at Yemen's Aden International Airport were halted, the latest sign of deepening crisis between Gulf powers Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, whose rivalry is shaping war-torn Yemen. The UAE backs the separatist Southern Transitional Council that seized swathes of southern Yemen from the internationally recognized government last month. Saudi Arabia, which backs the government, regarded that move as a threat, triggering the biggest crisis between it and the UAE in decades. The Southern Transitional Council controls the transport ministry in the internationally recognized coalition government, whose main leadership is supported by Saudi Arabia. The ministry accused Saudi Arabia of imposing an air blockade, saying Riyadh had instituted measures requiring all flights to go via Saudi Arabia for extra checks. It added when it objected to this, Saudi Arabia had clarified that the restriction was only on flights between Aden and the UAE. The Saudi source denied any involvement in restricting flights, adding that Yemen's government had imposed a requirement on flights between Aden and the UAE in order to curb escalating tensions. It added the ministry responded by ordering a full shutdown of air traffic. Brazil's former President Jair Bolsonaro left hospital to return to prison and resume serving a 27-year sentence for plotting a coup. In a ruling, judges denied a request from Bolsonaro's lawyers to grant him house arrest on health grounds. Bolsonaro had been hospitalized for more than a week as he underwent surgery for a groin hernia and then a procedure to treat recurring bouts of hiccups. In his decision denying house arrest, Judge Alexandre de Moraes said contrary to what the defense alleges, there has been no worsening of Bolsonaro's health condition. Bolsonaro left the DF Star Hospital in Brasilia in police custody to go back to a small room where he is serving his sentence at a federal police facility. In September, the Supreme Court found Bolsonaro guilty of conspiring to stay in power after losing 2022 elections to Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Prosecutors said the plot, which included a plan to assassinate Lula, failed because of a lack of support from military top brass. Bolsonaro was under house arrest until shortly before the start of his prison term in November. He was detained and sent to prison after he took a soldering iron to his ankle monitoring bracelet in what the court saw as an escape attempt. Coming up next, at least 6 killed in Ecuador New Year's Eve celebration.
Majlis peluncuran projek inovasi pencahayaan ke arah kelestarian bandar. I Like You, infrastruktur lampu, inovasi teknologi ekomampan ke arah urbanisasi. Acara perarakan I Like You dirasmikan oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, Perdana Menteri, 3 Januari 2026, Pavilion Kuala Lumpur.
At least 6 people were killed in an armed attack during New Year's Eve celebrations in the port city of Manta in the province of Manabí on Ecuador's Pacific coast. According to media reports, the shooting took place outside a home in the Nueva Esperanza neighborhood of the Eloy Alfaro parish. Armed men stormed the gathering and opened fire indiscriminately at people participating in the celebrations, killing at least 6 and wounding at least 8 dozen others. Those killed included a minor, a woman, and 4 men aged between 26 and 45. The attack caused panic at the scene and prompted the rapid mobilization of police units and emergency teams. A state of emergency has been declared in Manabí province, one of the regions hardest hit by a surge in criminal violence. Nigeria has launched a new tax regime that officials said will expand the tax base, ease the burden on low-income earners and small businesses, and streamline collection and administration. The new system, based on 4 bills signed into law in June, came into effect despite calls for a delay by the opposition, which alleged that the government had made unauthorized changes to the tax code. Tax experts said the four laws are a one-stop shop, simultaneously increasing revenue generation and reducing the tax burden on low-income earners. Opposition leader Atiku Abubakar accused the government of inserting illegal and unauthorized alterations to the laws. President Bola Tinubu, who has energetically backed the tax reforms, dismissed the claims, calling them premature and reactive. He noted that the new tax regime is in Nigeria's best interest. The president insisted that his tax reforms are designed to build a fair, competitive and robust fiscal foundation for Nigeria. He said by harmonizing the tax system, the country aims to raise revenue substantially, address fiscal distortions, and strengthen the capacity to finance infrastructure and social investments that will deliver shared prosperity. Iran marked the 6th anniversary of Qasem Soleimani's killing with a rally in Tehran on Thursday, which was attended by the country's president Masoud Pezeshkian. 3rd January marks 6 years since the military commander was assassinated in a U.S. missile strike in Iraq, a death which caused a spike in already fraught tensions between Iran and the United States. Soleimani was blamed by Washington for masterminding attacks by Iran-aligned force on U.S. military in the region. He died alongside Iraqi commander Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis. Soleimani, a 62-year-old general, was Tehran's most prominent military commander and as head of the Quds Force, the foreign arm of the Revolutionary Guards, the architect of Iran's spreading influence in West Asia. Soleimani became head of the force in 1998, after which he quietly strengthened Iran's ties with Hezbollah in Lebanon, Syria's government and militia groups in Iraq, acquiring celebrity status at home and among anti-US and anti-Israeli factions. In another development, protesters and security forces clashed in several Iranian cities on Thursday, with 6 reported killed, the first deaths since the cost of living demonstrations broke out. The protesters began on Sunday in Tehran, where shopkeepers went on strike over high prices and economic stagnation, and have since spread to other parts of the country. It was reported that 2 people were killed in clashes between security forces and protesters in the city of Lordagan, one in the province of Jahan Mahal and Bakhtiari, and 3 in Azna in neighboring Lorestan province. Some protesters began throwing stones at the city's administrative buildings, including the provincial governor's office, the mosque, the Martyrs Foundation, and the town hall and banks. Police in turn responded by firing tear gas at the crowds of protesters. Several buildings were severely damaged and the police arrested several people described as ringleaders. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has sought to calm tensions, acknowledging protesters' legitimate demands, and he urged the government to take action to improve the economic situation. Bulgaria on Thursday became the 21st country to switch to the euro, a milestone met with both cheers and fears, nearly 20 years after the Balkan nation joined the European Union. At the stroke of midnight, Bulgaria gave up the lev in use since the late 19th century, and Bulgarian euro coins were projected onto the central bank's building. Bulgaria's entry into the Eurozone will take the number of Europeans using the currency to more than 350 million. The last country to join the single currency group was Croatia in January 2023. Bulgarians in Sofia were divided about the historic currency change. Some Bulgarians worry that using the euro will push up prices or are suspicious of a domestic political establishment that is in crisis. The government stepped down last month amid widespread protests against proposed tax increases. Nonetheless, successive governments in the country of 6.4 million people have advocated joining the euro, hoping that it will boost the economy of the European Union's poorest member, reinforce ties to the West, and protect against Russia's influence. Chinese auto giant BYD sold 2.26 million electric vehicles last year, setting a new record for any firm globally. The Shenzhen-based company, which also products hybrid cars, announced the data in a statement published to the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, where it is listed. The figure puts BYD in pole position to outstrip Elon Musk's Tesla in the annual category for the first time, with the lagging Texas-based firm having previously announced 1.22 million in 2025 EV sales by the end of September. The automotive juggernaut has come to dominate China's highly competitive new energy vehicle market, which is also the world's largest. Now it is seeking to expand its presence overseas as increasingly price-wary consumption patterns in China weigh on profitability. BYD and its Chinese competitors face hefty tariffs in the US. However, its success is growing in Southeast Asia, West Asia, and even Europe, to the consternation of traditional industry heavyweights from the continent. A huge inferno gutted a 19th century Amsterdam church as the Netherlands endured an unsettled New Year's Eve with 2 dead from fireworks and unprecedented violence against police. The blaze broke out in the early hours at the Vondelkerk, a tourist attraction that has overlooked one of the city's top parks since 1872. The 50-meter-high tower collapsed and the roof was badly damaged, but the structure is expected to remain intact. The cause of the blaze was not immediately clear. The Dutch Police Union reported an unprecedented amount of violence against police and emergency services over New Year's Eve. Shortly after midnight, authorities released a rare country-wide alert on mobile phones, warning people not to call overwhelmed emergency services unless lives were at risk. Reports of attacks against police and firefighters were widespread across the country. In the southern city of Breda, people threw petrol bombs at police. 2 people, meanwhile, were killed in fireworks accidents. 2025 was the last year before an expected ban on unofficial fireworks, so Dutch bought them in massive quantities. Still to come in sports, toothless Liverpool held to goalless draw with Leeds. Liverpool could only manage a goalless New Year's Day draw with Leeds United that cost Arne Slot's men precious points in the Premier League title race. Liverpool, who had been on a run of 4 successive wins across all competitions, lacked any sort of urgency against an excellent defensive effort from Leeds and squandered a couple of good chances. The best was Hugo Ekitike's header at the far post from Jeremy Frimpong's cross that he headed away from the goal. Liverpool captain Virgil van Dijk missed a chance in the second half when he headed a corner kick wide of the net. Goalkeeper Alisson Becker nearly gifted Leeds captain Ethan Ampadu a goal with a horrible clearance. Alisson tried to play the ball with the outside of his boot and it fell to Ampadu, who fired first time, but the goalkeeper recovered to save the Welshman's shot. Leeds striker Dominic Calvert-Lewin briefly celebrated what he thought was the winning goal in the 81st minute when he latched onto a pass from Noah Okafor and lifted the ball on rushing Alisson, but it was ruled out for offside. Many fans had left by the time the final whistle sounded. Liverpool are 4th in the standings with 33 points after 19 games, 12 behind leaders Arsenal, while Leeds are 16 with 21 points. Enzo Maresca left his role as Chelsea head coach after just 18 months in charge. The Italian's exit from Stamford Bridge comes with the club 5th in the Premier League table, 15 points adrift of leaders Arsenal with 1 win in their last 7 top-flight games. Speculation about Maresca's position increased during Chelsea's poor run of recent results amid reports of a worsening relationship between the coach and the club's hierarchy. Chelsea is set with the key objective still to play for across 4 competitions, including qualification for Champions League football. Maresca and the club believe a change gives the team the best chance of getting the season back on track. Under-21's head coach Callum McFarlane is expected to take charge of Monday's trip to Manchester City. Liam Rosenoir Neymar, the head coach of French club Strasbourg, is the leading candidate to replace Maresca despite the 41-year-old's lack of Premier League experience. Maresca's contract had been due to run until the summer of 2029 with a club option of a further year. Neymar has agreed to renew his contract with Santos until the end of 2026. Earlier, Pele's former club Santos posted a cryptic video on social media showing an aerial view of their Villa Belmiro Stadium with the date December 31st, 2026, without mentioning Neymar, whose initial contract expired at midnight on 31st December. Neymar's first season back at his first club was interrupted by injuries, but the 33-year-old scored 4 times as Santos won their last 3 games to move out the relegation places in the final day of the season in December. After the season, he underwent an operation to repair a damaged meniscus in his left knee. Santos said on December 22nd that the operation was performed by Brazil's national team doctor and was successful. Neymar, who played for Barcelona, Paris Saint-Germain and Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia, is the top scorer for the Brazil with 79 goals, 2 more than Pele. He has not played for the national team since October 2023 when he suffered a knee injury against Uruguay. Former Brazil defender Roberto Carlos is recovering in hospital on Thursday following heart surgery. The 52-year-old posted on his Instagram account that he underwent a planned medical procedure and had not had a heart attack. Hospital Vila Nova Star in Sao Paulo said in a separate statement that Carlos, who is now a Real Madrid ambassador, had a heart obstruction detected on Monday and was advised to have a coronary angioplasty on the same day. The procedure is minimally invasive and widens blocked or narrowed heart arteries. Carlos won 4 La Liga titles and 3 Champions League across 527 appearances for Real Madrid. He also played 125 times for Brazil and was part of the World Cup winning team in 2002. Renowned as a free kick specialist, his other clubs included Palmeiras, Inter Milan, Fenerbahce and Corinthians. Carlos also had a 1-year spell as player-manager of the erstwhile Delhi Dynamos in the 2015 season of the Indian Super League. He was named as runner-up of the FIFA World Player of the Year award in 1997 and the Ballon d'Or in 2002. Stefanos Tsitsipas said on Thursday he seriously considered retiring from tennis in the depths of a struggle with serious back pain during much of the 2025 season. However, the former world number 3, now ranked 36, after playing just 2 Davis Cup matches since a second-round exit at the US Open, said his ongoing medical treatment appeared to be paying dividends. The 2023 Australian Open finalist said the injury haunted him for the last 6 or 8 months, with his biggest concern being if he could finish a match he participated in. Tsitsipas said that after various medical consultations, he was now satisfied with his current care plan. He added that he completed 5 weeks of off-season training without pain. Greece have become regulars in their 4-year history of the United Cup, played in Perth and Sydney, with fellow comeback hopeful Maria Sakkari, also a former world number 3, joining Tsitsipas in the team. Greece are grouped with Naomi Osaka's Japan and the Emma Raducanu-led Britain. That wraps up World Today this time around. In our top story, 40 killed, over 100 injured in Swiss wildfire. Until next time, I'm Berita RTM. Salam Malaysia Madani. Thank you for watching.